Hi everyone, my name is Anita Halim and I'm from Indonesia. This summer, as a part of the International Exchange Program by World Heritage USA, I had the chance to work at the National Trust for Historic Preservation in Washington, D.C. I studied architecture during my undergraduate and afterwards heritage studies for my master's. During my study, we discussed heritage issues such as why heritage places matter, how to preserve it, and who owns the heritage. I am very grateful for my experience at the National Trust because I get to witness how these issues being applied in reality. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is a nonprofit organization with an aim to save America's historic sites, tell the full American story, build stronger communities, and invest in preservation future. They do it through historic site stewardship, advocacy, and direct assistance. For this purpose, the Trust has many departments and programs that are focused in building communities around historical sites and how these multiple voices will contribute to a more inclusive history. And during my internship, I worked at the National Trust Historic Sites Department that is in charge of 28 historical sites across the United States. And within the Historic Sites Department, I work with Mark Stoner. He is the Senior Director of Preservation Architecture and the Graham Gunn Architect of the Trust. Mark has been an amazing mentor during the program, and I've learned so many things from him, especially as I came from a country, climate, and cultural context that is very different from the States. The assignment that I was working on spanned across different sites, such as the Woodrow Wilson House in Washington, D.C., Oatlands Plantation in Virginia, and the Lyndhurst Mansion in New York. The Woodrow Wilson House was built in 1915 by architect Waddy Butterwood, and it is located in the historical Kalorama neighborhood in Washington, D.C. Although it is called the Woodrow Wilson House, the former president actually only lived there for 3 years, and that is when he retired from the White House in 1921 until he passed away in 1924. After that, his wife Edith continued living at the house for 40 years until she passed away in 1961. I remember seeing this nice painting of Edith Wilson in the dining room of the house when I had my first assignment, that is to make measure drawing for the radiator enclosure in the room. It was also my first time measuring and drawing with imperial system, which is an interesting experience because I basically doing the measurement without having the sense of how long these measurements actually were. And these measured drawings are a part of the bidding documents for the new HVAC system project. As 100 years old structures that was built with a boiler piping underneath the wall, it is time to replace the vulnerable old system into a more energy and cost-efficient system. And it is the architect's job to maintain the new machines will be concealed so it is not obstructing the stories that the building wanted to tell. So what is the story that the Wilson House is telling us? The Wilson House is currently holding an exhibition called Moving Toward Transparency, Woodrow Wilson's Legacy at 100. The exhibition tries to confront the layered and multifaceted legacy of Woodrow Wilson as a visionary leader who is beloved by the international world with his effort to establish what today has become the United Nations, but also at the same time, he is a flawed leader who has given his permission for segregation in his cabinet during his presidency. I think it is a very important story to tell and still very relevant nowadays, and this is why the effort of preserving the building is even more important. The next project is also my main project during the internship. It is the Oatland Plantation located in Loudoun County, Virginia. The plantation was established by George Carter after he inherited the land from his father, Robert Carter III. In 1971, Robert filed a deed to free more than 500 enslaved people because he realized that it was wrong. Unfortunately, none of his children shared his belief, so George Carter started to buy enslaved people again for his plantation. For Oatlands, my assignment is to draft a condition report and assessment that is required for a rehabilitation plan, especially in spaces that were formerly working places for the enslaved people, such as the mentioned basement and garden dependencies. To prepare for the condition report, I have to do some photographic documentation and measurements to show the current condition of the wall, floor, and ceiling. This will be the basis of the future rehabilitation and interpretation plan that can be used to tell the stories of the enslaved people at Oatlands. Another project that is happening in Oatlands is the balustrade project. The balustrade of Oatlands is the important element that runs across the perimeter of the mansion in the south and east, the border between the mansion and the garden. To revitalize the dilapidated balustrade, the Trust worked together with Shenandoah Planning Mill, and the trip to the planning mill is definitely one of the highlights. It is very exciting to see how much effort were put into each of the balustrade to make sure that it can endure the weather and time. And after 6 weeks, we get to see the mock-up of these balustrades beautifully standing in Oatlands. Oatlands is currently having this Reclaim Your Story program, which connects the descendants of the both enslaved and enslaver people. The goal of this program is to gather people together to share the information about their families and genealogy and to discuss the history that both of the groups share. In this way, this part of important history will be remembered and a future that is more inclusive can be expected for both communities. The next site is the Lyndhurst Mansion site. The site is located in Tarrytown, a small town located in the state of New York. In this site, I am working together with Alexa, the Silman Fellow that has been working with Mark for several months. We put our focus on the Lyndhurst Pool building that was added by Helen Gold in 1911 after she inherited the property. The pool building was not working right now, and during a rescue plan many years ago, the dilapidated glass ceiling has been replaced by a metal roof which stopped the leaking. During the check-up of the Lyndhurst pool building, me and Alexa, she's the one standing on the left picture, we had a chance to learn some methods from Simon, the measurement expert. We were there for the inventory session of the stone parts in the basement and also trying to do the Ryland test, which is a handy test to evaluate the water absorption of the masonry brick. The importance of Lyndhurst pool building can be traced back to when Helen Gold opened the pool for the public. The pool was very likely built as a response to a very sinking accident that had claimed the lives of hundreds of immigrant women. During the era, because of the social norms, younger had very few chances to learn how to swim. And the Lyndhurst pool not only opened for 6 days a week, but also offered free swimming lessons to the community. In this old picture, we can still see the beautiful pool that was built in a Roman bath style and covered by a glass roof. It was one of the finest pools in the country at the time, and I really hope that the building could be revitalized as soon as possible so this story can be told to more people. So in hindsight, it has been a very fun summer program for me. Beside the Wilson House, Oatlands, and Lyndhurst, I also got to visit a variety of National Trust sites. And as an architectural nerd, I'm so excited to visit the Pope Leahy House by Frank Lloyd Wright and also the Glass House by Philip Johnson. And I also learned so many things about the dark history of slavery through the visit to some plantations, such as James Madison's Montpelier and Belgrove. They have a very amazing interpretation and doing a great exhibition and connecting the archaeological finding to the story of the descendant to connect the past to the future. And once again, I would like to thank Mark, the one on the right pictures here, because I've learned a lot, but also at the same time, having so much fun. And also, I'd like to thank the National Trust for Historic Preservation for all the resources and materials that I got to learn during my internship. And last but not least, I'd like to thank World Heritage USA because to realize this program and to allow me to have this very fun summer together with friends, and also to get to experience Washington, D.C. It is a very interesting city, and there's always something to do in DC. So it has been a summer that I could never forget. So thank you so much. And I would like to pass it over to the next speaker, which is Vinita. Thank you.